We were very lucky when they bought this property. I think it's great. It's a great area to grow horses. The property was designed very well. The yearling paddocks, as we saw in the vision with Desert War, they average 40 acres and they're very undulating. So it's very good country to rear horses. We're 40 minutes away from Thoroughbreds Stud, who are well renowned for breeding good horses, and we're 2 hours from the Hunter Valley, where we access all the stallions. So we're in a very good area to rear horses, and we're very lucky to have the size and the acreage that we do.
And Desert War's going to lead all the way.
The great Desert War, what an absolute champion he was, of course, and won so many races. You know, we know the Group 1s, but he was such a tough horse. He went on for year after year, and he seems to be loving his life as a nanny with his great bunch of fillies.
He is a great signature horse, really, for Gooree. He epitomises what the Gooree horse is all about. He was a tough, hard, front-running horse trained by Gai Waterhouse. He wasn't a brilliant horse, he didn't have a turn of speed, but he had a great high cruising speed, and he broke a lot of hearts of horses behind him that were chasing him. He won 6 Group 1s. It's fair to say, as a young horse, he was no oil painting. He was a big, plain son of Desert King. I remember when he first went down to Gai, she rang me not long after saying, "What's this big hairy elephant you've sent us?" Well, not long after that, she was saying, "This big hairy elephant has got good speed." So he was a great horse, and he's having a great retirement. You saw a vision of him there. He looks after the weanlings every year, and then the yearlings. He's been a great horse to everyone, and everyone that visits the farm always asks to see Desert War.
With stories a bit hard to record currently, I thought I'd bring you a story I'd already filmed about 2 stallions living in retirement at Stockwell Stud in Victoria. Since we filmed the piece, sadly Brief Truce has died, but his old mate Arazi is living a fantastic life in retirement at Stockwell. So this shows how Australian thoroughbred studs care for their retired stallions to keep them happy and safe and well.
Arazi runs right by him. Arazi with a dramatic move as the field turns for home. Absolutely brilliant. He was taken under a hard hold to win it here by 5, and he could have won by 10 perhaps. Absolutely sensational.
So fabulous to see these old boys here at Stockwell Thoroughbreds. Arazi, he was such a superstar on the track, and he's living the life of Riley.
Yeah, he's enjoying his retirement. He was ready to retire from breeding, but as you see, he's fit and alert, and he's well, and he's happy, and he's still loved the world over.
He does. Look, he just had that great record, didn't he? What a scintillating 2-year-old. If you haven't seen the Breeders' Cup win, well, we're going to show it as part of this story. But what he did then, he brought a whole generation of people to racing, didn't he?
He brought them to racing, and they've remembered him. I've never been associated with a horse that has such a worldwide following, and people who remember his Breeders' Cup win, remember his birthday. People that didn't really have a racing background that he brought into the game that have followed it ever since and followed him.
Arazi and Brief Truce, they just kept running into each other.
We found them both in Switzerland of all places, which is not a known breeding country, but there's some family there that breed probably better than 50% of the thoroughbreds in Switzerland. Lovely people, the Eglofs, and they found Arazi in Japan, and they said, well, we want to do something in joint venture with them, which we did, and so they stood him there for a year or two, and then we had him shuttle out. He's got a passport that most people would be envious of. Born in the States, went to France as a young horse, back to America to race at 2, off to England, he's been in Japan, he's been to Australia and to Switzerland, and he's a well-travelled horse, the old fella, but he's had a huge following all his life, and some of the emails and letters I get are just staggering, of people's personal association of what it meant to them and what it meant in their life. It's a wonder he's got any mane or tail left. We're always sending lockets of his mane or tail or some part of him to somebody in the world. You know, he's just got an amazing fan club, and Breeders' Cup time, the media in the States always contact to find out where he is and how he's going and what he's up to. So Yeah, no, he's an amazing horse in that regard.
And Arazi himself, so at stud, he hasn't had big numbers, has he? But I guess the big claim to fame is the dam sire of Americain, the Melbourne Cup winner.
Yeah, as a broodmare sire, he's made his name because he never did cover big numbers of horses at any stage of his life, and obviously hasn't got thousands of broodmares out there. So his strike rate of percentage of stakes winners to runners out of for his mares has been enormous, and obviously with Americain here. Was the major factor. Yeah, his best son was a good horse called Gooree, raced in the States. He was a multiple Group 1 winner, but it's as a broodmare sire he's made his name.
Well, it's a testament to you. I guess it is a thing that a lot of people don't really think of. What happens to stallions when they retire? So it's fabulous that you love them enough to give them a good home, but they take a lot of looking after, don't they?
Well, they can. I mean, we tend to let them be horses. We don't spoil them. I mean, they're in stables here at the moment, and that's a bit of a novelty for them. So we don't overfeed them, we don't let them get too hyped, just let them chill out. They've got their own yards up the front with shelters, and they're pretty happy where they can see what they want to see, whether it's mares or other horses. Just look forward to a feed and a lie down in the day. We don't go to great ends to ensure they look as well as they do. We just look after them and look after them well. I mean, they regularly get their teeth done, their feet done, they're drenched, they have all the basics done to them, and we don't spoil them, we don't pamper them. But for that, they're relaxed, they're left alone, and they're happy.
So what would you say to people that may have a stallion and be thinking, well, what on earth do we do with the horse? I mean, you know, they can be kept on because, you know, you'd hate the thought of anything sort of bad happening to them when they provided such great service to people for so long.
Well, they have. As a racehorse, they've been champions, very good horses. At stud, they've looked after a lot of shareholders or investors into them. Obviously, the facility you've got to keep them in is important, so they're in yards fenced for stallions. But other than that, nothing, you know, nothing out of the ordinary. Some like to see what's going on, so long as they're in a safe yard, safe paddock, safe environment that would cater for a stallion that's been at work for a lot of years and instinct still rules the brain. So there's nothing outstanding for them, but so long as they're in a safe environment, they're fine.
Tell me what you feel though when you see, I mean, Arazi rearing and putting on a bit of a show, and it must make you feel really, you know, proud to see them here looking so happy and well cared for.
Yeah, well, we're mindful of their age, and we're mindful they're not here forever, and we're mindful that they can get sick, or a lot of older stallions suffer feet problems. Touch wood, we haven't had that problem. In Arazi's case, that's a bit of a novelty. He underwent major bowel surgery first season at stud with a colic. So we haven't had a problem with him, touch wood, it stays that way. But, you know, Arazi still comes up, he wants his apples every day. But, you know, they like attention, but not too much of it. They just leave me alone, I'm quite happy in my world.
So great to see Arazi in such great condition and still with fans all around the world. Coming up on Thoroughbreds Are Go, Arrowfield Studs Strappers Stories.